Okay, it is 7:30 on a Wednesday, June 17th, and we can ask the question, why is tonight different from all other nights? I did ask that last month, and the answer then was it was the annual meeting where we passed the budget. Today is the last meeting of the village year and the last meeting of our colleague Susan Fadig. 11 years, and I figure more than 100 meetings, and we will miss her advice and wisdom and her
And wisdom.
More wisdom.
more wisdom and more advice.
Ad nauseum, as Jeff would say if he were here. Is he here today?
He's on his way.
Yeah, he's on his way apparently. And with that, we will have the weather report from our weather reporter.
Okay, let's start off with the present. The weather's been beautiful the last several days. Low humidity, nice breeze. That ends abruptly tomorrow for one day. It'll be 95. It's going to be windy tomorrow, so that's why I don't think there'll be any heat index tomorrow, because that's going to sort of take the edge off the hot weather. But it will be humid. I don't look for any severe weather right now. I'm not even sure whether we're going to get any thunderstorms at all from this.
Oh,
Most of that will probably be up through the Great Lakes and into New England. And then we've got another cool, refreshing, low humidity several days coming in. This coming weekend is what I'd like it to be for the following weekend.
okay.
But right now, I don't see any 90s other than tomorrow for the rest of the month. What I do see is warm, humid, mid to upper 80s with a chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms each day and evening. And that would include, because everybody's thinking about the 28th, which is the Sunday that we have our big event, our Independence Day celebration, right down there on the park next to my house. But it looks like we could be dodging showers and thunderstorms on that day. So that's my forecast. My forecast is we won't have the real hot weather like we've been having, but we will have warm, humid weather with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We need those showers and thunderstorms, but we don't need them to give us any problems that people are going to have to be worried about lightning, etc., at the picnic.
Right.
So I'm going to work on that for you all. Okay?
Okay.
And my time is up, and I thank you for yours.
Well, thank you. We look forward to.
I'll be back again with the engagement committee update.
Good.
Hi, Marty.
Okay. We have a number, I shouldn't say a number, we have several residents here, the teeming masses storming the gates. Any comments from residents on residential matters? If you're here for a committee, then that will come later. No?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, we do have one. Marty.
Yeah. Thank you. Last month we had a introduction of a proposal from the council about the accessory dwelling units.
Right.
And is that now, that discussion's not on tonight's agenda, so I assume it got bumped up to July or perhaps?
Exactly. It'll be coming. We don't have our council with us tonight. He has another municipality to take care of, regularly scheduled on Wednesday. So he will be here next month and we will reconsider that at that time.
Okay, I have a request in connection with that proposal. One of the concerns was about parking for auxiliary units. And I was surprised to learn, although I'm sure it's true, I just never picked up on it before, that we don't actually have a parking requirement for off-street parking for current construction of like regular houses.
Right.
And the only, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And so I was thinking that, reading the ADU materials, and thank you for the good summary on that. It was in the packet and in the newsletter, I think, too. Anyway, if we do a parking study so that we would have the legal ability to put some parking requirements in with an ADU, we probably ought to put some parking requirements in for full construction, regular construction, and that requires a parking study. So my question is this: how much does it cost to do a parking study for a village the size of ours? And would it be helpful to have such a parking study in order to get Michael his authority to actually enforce parking restrictions. Michael's been having such a time trying to, I guess it's a county, um, and to actually give him the paperwork he needs. It's not like we can't do it. Other jurisdictions do it. Michael's done all the preparation for it. And Michael Silliman, thank you for that. But it occurs to me that it would be actually very helpful to have a parking study of the village at this point in time, and that it could be helpful for two reasons. Number one, we could in fact put parking restrictions or requirements, I guess is a better word, for ADUs and other construction. We could also maybe actually get our parking enforcement in gear here and help deal with some of these situations where we have trucks blocking intersections and some trucks blocking the access to and from Brookville Road, so that it's really got blind quarters and it's quite dangerous. So anyway, a 6-meter parking study might be really useful on 2 counts, and I'm wondering, will the council consider that?
But we don't need a parking study for parking enforcement. What we would need it for is if we were to have try to enforce parking for ADUs, or as you say, other kinds of housing, which we have no regulation on now. But do you have any idea of what it entails?
I literally talked to Ron about this today. I don't know how much that would cost. That would take some putting it out for bid and
right. I have no idea.
It is just a one-time parking study, not I thought maybe it would be every single time there was a new ADU, there would have to be a parking study on that street or something. But it's actually in order to have the law regulating or having a parking minimum on certain types of structures or a certain type of number of bedrooms or however that would work, you would have to do it in order to enact that law. So,
right. Well, we don't have anything in the code now for anything other than ADUs. And that's so the question, we're probably not going to solve it this month, next month, or shortly.
I would like the council, I'm putting as a formal request as a constituent who's lived here for a long time and dealt with parking problems here, to actually, I'm requesting the council, look into, and Michael Silliman had Michael look into that one-time parking study. I think it'd be really useful to have that, and this is a good time to do it.
Marty, quickly, would you be in favor of parking restrictions, say any house with more than 2 bedrooms requires off-street parking as a rule in the code?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on parking other than having to deal with it here, which of course makes us all experts. But I think that's something for the council to find, similar examples. Obviously we have a lot of large houses here and we need some off-street parking that isn't happening. And I think that the off-street parking should be permeable and all that. The code could get into those details. We don't need more non-permeable surface area because of the flooding issues. But, again, that's the kind of thing that it seems to me we ought to do. We haven't done a parking study here as long as I know.
No.
And now's the time to do it because we've got all this stormwater stuff coming up and we may have ADUs coming in. And we should have some kind of reasonable parking requirements for off-street parking.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we should do it.
Thank you. Council Member Jeff, you have a comment?
Cheers. Thank you. And Marty, thanks. I think we tabled the idea of having a vote on the ADU proposed amendment till at least next month. And so, Marty, thanks. You brought up a question that came up, I think, last time when we introduced it is, what does this entail? What's the cost? Who bears it? And I think we'll have more information. Ron, I know, had a conflict for tonight. So at the next session, I think we'll have a discussion on what this all means. I think we all recognize that we probably may need something, but we also want to make it so it's not an onerous burden on either residents or the village, but we also want to protect. We know that our streets are crowded. We know that we have a hard time finding parking, and we need to come up with a solution. So, over.
Okay. Thank you. Mark, your hand is up. You're muted.
All right.
There you go.
I agree. I'm happy that we're talking about this. I suggest that parking is a huge problem and just overcrowding is a risk. We sort of all thought about that when the county was talking about changing the zoning down in the southern part of the county. I think we need to really think through how crowded we want to be and whether we can handle it. And if people bring in more children, whether our schools can handle it, and whether we're going to be dealing with traffic on our streets that we can live with, that we can live with, in addition to parking. They're all problems. And then the other piece that I hope the council will look at is how this relates to stormwater management, because you're going to be allowing, or you may be allowing, additional non-porous surface area on property when we were talking about limiting it. And also, if you allow building into the setbacks, you're going to multiply that problem again and get into the whole thing about preserving trees and everything else, that the setbacks are related to setbacks. Saying that, I think ADUs are great. I just want us to do it the right way and make sure that we make life better for us rather than more challenging.
Good, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I see no other hands up from residents. So let's move on then to our committee. This is the end of the year, and our committees are reporting on what's happened over the year. I see we have a committee member here from the Ethics Committee, and we have you. Okay, who wants to go first? You can.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll actually
Laurie.
go first on the,
Yeah, well,
I don't mind going first.
you're here.
Okay, thank you. Hey, good evening. I'm Lori Mitchell here on behalf of the Ethics Committee. Just over 5 years ago, a resident made a suggestion to the committee. If we want trust in government, we should be transparent about how our Ethics Committee operates. That suggestion led to our first annual report. Tonight marks our 5th. And in many ways, this report can be summed up in 2 words. Nothing happened.
Good. That's what we like to
No
hear.
complaints were
Perfect
filed,
ethics.
no advisory opinions were requested, no conflicts of interest were self-reported. Now that may not sound like much, but when it comes to ethics oversight, sometimes the absence of problems tells an important story. It suggests that our public officials and staff are taking their responsibilities seriously. It suggests that the systems we built are working. And it reminds us that the goal of ethics is not to generate complaints. It's to foster a culture where ethical conduct becomes routine.
Excellent.
Of course, culture doesn't happen by accident. Over the past year, the committee continued work that rarely makes headlines, but is essential to long-term success. We focused on developing standard operating procedures and expanding ethics training. The objective is simple. The committee's effectiveness should never depend on a single individual. Strong institutions are built on systems, documentation, and shared knowledge. As part of that effort, we conducted ethics training during village orientation and invited all public officials and staff to participate. Going forward, every volunteer appointed after orientation will receive access to the annual training module, ensuring that ethics education remains an ongoing commitment rather than just a one-time event. Since the end of this month marks the end of my 2-year term, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the committee's evolution during my tenure. In 2021 and 2023, the council voted to expand the committee's jurisdiction. Those decisions were not universally popular. Some residents worried that broader authority would lead to a flood of ethics complaints, unnecessary conflict, and expense. But years later, that prediction simply hasn't materialized. In fact, since those expansions were adopted, there have been no ethics complaints. The lesson is that strong ethics regulations don't create problems. They create confidence. They establish expectations, provide clarity, and prevent issues even before they arise. While the village success in this area reflects the efforts of many individuals over many years, I'd especially like to recognize Councilmember Susan Faddick, who served as liaison to the committee 4 of the last 6 terms. Throughout that time, she worked diligently to help strengthen the village ethics standards. Even when there was significant disagreement, she remained committed to adopting ethics requirements that would serve our community well for the years to come. The lasting impact of that work can be seen in many improvements the village has made in the ethics code. Over the last several years, the committee and council have worked together to strengthen the ethics framework in a variety of ways. One decision that may prove to be particularly important was the council's adoption of 2-year staggered terms for ethics committee members. Staggered terms ensure that experience is never lost all at once, that knowledge is passed from one generation of volunteers to the next, and that the committee remains fully operational throughout the year. And we're already seeing the benefits. This year's continuing committee members, Rachel Kolsky and Alex Gaskier, have been preparing for the transition to the new term with clearly defined responsibilities moving forward. That kind of continuity in institutional stewardship reflects an important aspect of ethical governance, one that extends beyond investigations, complaints, and enforcement. In fact, after 5 years of reviewing these annual reports, I've come to think about ethics a little differently. When residents talk about ethics, the conversation often focuses on investigations, complaints, and enforcement. But ethics is really about building systems, practices, and leadership structures that promote accountability, transparency, and public trust over the long term. When the safeguards are doing their job, problems are addressed early, public officials understand their responsibilities, and government can focus on serving the community. And sometimes the strongest evidence that those systems are working is the fact that there's very little drama to report. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
You and Mark and all the others who were so instrumental in making it happen and ensuring that it was a success going forward. You've been amazing. And
I think, as you said, I think we've all been sensitized to the issues, and we think about these things before they ever come up into an issue. So I think it's worked. Okay.
And you certainly, and you still have set the greatest bar that I know since being on the council of having the most magnificent slides and conceptual maps of the well, let's just say the function here within EMA. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to regular order, back to regular order, election committee. And I see we have, there she is, one member, the chair of the election committee,
and Marty.
Marty.
Hi, thank you. Yes, we actually have two members here. Elizabeth Goldberg is here and has
Oh,
been,
there she is.
yeah, as well.
Oh, there she is.
Hi,
Okay.
Elizabeth. Thank you. And I have to start out by saying what an incredible team we had on the election committee this year. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Really, it was a terrific combination of longtime experienced election officials and new folks, and what a great team, which was a good thing because if you look through, I mean, our report is short. It's only a 2-page report with half a page of recommendations and a footnote about delays. But the amount of work that this committee does in the course of a year is really pretty phenomenal. Unlike ethics, a lot happens with elections. And we were really successful this year. We had 5 candidates instead of an uncontested election. And we had a lot more community participation. I'm going to ask you all to actually take the time to read this report and look at the scope of things that this committee does. We not only recruit candidates by encouraging, we're not allowed to recruit any individuals. We had a general recruitment village-wide, but we really were able to boost community awareness with the new Nudge a Neighbor campaign, which provided a great on-ramp for people to get reconnected with their local government with a very simple step forward, which is to talk to their neighbors and encourage neighbors to run. It turned out to be quite successful. We also had 2 other new actions this year that came out of the committee last year and this year. We had a 3-part civic engagement proposal from the election committee, and 2/3 of that got enacted this year. So thank you to the council and to the staff for doing that. The first component that got enacted was the new flyer on what does a village council member do, which we were able to distribute this year for the first time. That was very helpful. And special kudos to our village manager, Michael, for making the finances finally more visible in a way that residents could actually see what our financial situation is. The charts and graphs and the budget transmittal letter you did, Michael, were really helpful. So all of that goes to community involvement, civic engagement, and it turns up in elections. We had a contested election with 5 candidates, and turnout went from 28.5% last year to 42, which is fairly respectable this year. 42% of eligible voters turned out to vote. I also want to mention the election forum because that's a project in and of itself. It was really well organized this year by the moderators, two outstanding committee members, Elizabeth and Mike Zielinski. And the community response was very, very strong. We had 41 people on the Zoom for the forum, and 90 residents have viewed the video recording since then. Many, many people have told me, as the elections committee chair, how important that recording of the forum was to them in making their decisions. So that is a really essential community service. It's an election staple, and we're very glad to have done it again, and it went so well. The ballots this year are interesting. We were able to work more directly with Electic to handle all these tasks that require quick turnaround and need to be absolutely accurate. You know, there are probably 101 ways to derail an election, and a mistake on the ballot packets is one of them, or many of them. And so we were able to work with Electech to make sure the ballot packets were correct. We got the early ballots out on time. We got the replacement ballots out fast. We did the postal tracking that we do as a committee. And Electech mailed the ballots right on time on the morning after the forum, April 22. Things got complicated because of the post office. And as our report says, postal delays are now a common problem. And this year's committee and next year's committee, again, will have to look at sort of all the different ways that Martin's Additions can protect our residents' voting rights, because we don't want the post office disenfranchising our voters. That's an issue nationwide, and it would turn out to be an issue right here at home this year when the majority of the ballots did not arrive on time. We have 642 voters, and by our best estimates, hundreds of ballots did not arrive on time. The vast majority did not arrive till May. It should have been here April 27th. You'll see there's a long footnote 1 on our report, which talks about what we do in case of delays on the incoming ballot packets to our voters, and a little bit on what we do if there are delays on the return envelopes, which of course is a second issue. If our residents get their ballots on time, but then their return envelopes they mail back get delayed, again, people can be disenfranchised. So this is really, postal delays are about voting rights at a very core level. And we very much care about our residents' voting rights. So I encourage everybody to actually take time to read the details on the footnote 1 there about what we do. And one of our recommendations is for next year's committee to finalize the draft SOP, standard operating procedures, that this year's committee came up with to document what the problem-solving process is for delays in either direction, on the incoming ballots right up front or on the return envelopes that our residents send in to the contractor. So ballots were a really key issue this year. And even though Electech did everything right this year, they revised the ballots correctly, they mailed them right on schedule, we still had the postal delay complications, which I must say I commend the committee on how it handled that. And I also want to shout out to Keith Allen, who was one of the people who went down to our local postal sorting facility to talk to the manager and try to find the missing mail. So Keith, thank you again for that. If you look at the rest of the next page in our report, we also discovered last year that the post office was erroneously returning some ballot packets to Electech, the contractor, undelivered. It turned out that anybody who asked the post office to forward their mail didn't get a ballot. That's not fair. That disenfranchises people. So to remedy that problem, this year, the VMA regulations now stipulate the return address in the envelopes is an election committee PO box. And that turned out to be very successful in solving the problem. It did put about 6 more hours of work on the committee workload in early May because we had to do multiple trips to the post office and then contact the voters that had undelivered ballots. But it was certainly worth it to protect voting rights and was quite successful. So that's now part of the regulations and obviously should stay so. The public information, I think, that little paragraph contains volumes.
Mark, quick question from
Marty, can I ask you
Sure.
a question?
Sure.
First of all, I wasn't aware, thank you, Keith. I didn't realize Keith was on the election committee or was deputized by the election committee. So assume that you coordinated that with Michael, because I just don't want Keith to get in trouble at the post office.
Not at all, not at all. Keith took it upon himself to volunteer to go down to Westlake, and it was wonderfully helpful. He's a friend of
Okay, I just
our
want to
mayor.
make sure, I mean, that's a function of the election committee, just to be clear. So I don't want to have residents be put in a position that
Not
could
at all,
somehow
not at all.
cause?
We would
I
not
guess.
have imposed that on Keith. He volunteered to do it and it turned out to be really helpful.
Okay,
Um,
I just want to make sure to protect residents who are volunteering that are not on the committee that has jurisdiction over the issue. The other question I have for you, since little VMA, however mighty we might think we are, can't really change course of a behemoth, a bureaucratic behemoth such as the Postal Service. Are you thinking that maybe more time needs to be put into the front end and the back end just to protect both receipt and receipt on both ends of these ballots? Is that something that the committee will recommend?
Yes.
I think next year's committee is going to very much look at that. This year, we had 30 days between the mailing date of the ballots, April 22nd, and the date that the contractor needed to have received them, May 21st. Now, of course, out of that 30 days, you assume a week up front for the actual mailing delivery. And then you take a week off the back end because people need to mail their ballots back. We told them mail by May 15th to make sure it got there by the 21st. And it looked like everything that did get mailed by the 15th got in there by the 21st. But one envelope that was mailed, postmarked, probably mailed on the 15th, but postmarked on the 16th of May, didn't arrive till May 27th. So one of the options that next year's committee will need to consider is perhaps moving that vote counting date back another week from May 21st to May 28th or something, just to allow more time on the return envelope delivery side. Because again, you could have delays both on the incoming ballots if they don't arrive for 2 weeks and you only got a 30-day period. You need them to arrive within a week and you need to be able to have time to have them ballot returned. So yeah, that's definitely an option.
And Electech, it's verified that Electech sent them. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt versus
require
just
them.
Blaming USPS.
Right. No, we required them for the last couple of years, since 24 actually, to confirm to the election committee in writing when they've mailed the ballots. And we also check with them. If you take a look at footnote 1 there, which actually describes the process, the first step in the process is 3 days before the scheduled mailing date. We, the committee, check with Electech to make sure those packets are ready to roll, right? To make sure they're ready to go. At least 3 days. This year we did it even earlier. So we verify they're ready to go. And then the day of the mailing, we require Electech to document that they mailed it by sending us a written email. And basically on pain of perjury, they're not going to lie about that. They're also their local post office confirmed that they mailed them that morning, April 22nd. So we know that they're doing that right. And that was great. But part of the reason that Electech was able to do that on time was because the committee was able to make sure the ballot packets were corrected for this year, because they have to revise them every year, obviously. And ballot packet accuracy is really important. We were able to do that quickly. We were able to do the test mailing quickly. We were able to do all that technical nitty-gritty stuff to get those ballots ready to rock and roll. So Electech had them ready in advance and mailed them on the morning of the 22nd. So this was entirely a postal delivery problem. And I think that even though we're small, we're not insignificant. Westlake knows about us. We've talked about them in talked to them in past years to watch for our materials and to expedite, because when the ballots come, we got 642 ballot packets. That's a bundle. And that, one of the things that I remember doing even back in the days when we were just mailing the voter information guides rather than ballots back in the in-person voting days, we would always give the post office distribution center a heads up that you're going to get, 600 ballots or 600 mailings, for VMA. Look for them, process them fast. So there are things we can do, and Westlake was very pleasant. They stepped up, and the reason Keith got involved, Keith Allen, is besides the fact that he's a general good guy, is because he's friends with DJ, one of our local mail carrier deliverers. And DJ was also very helpful in kicking loose and finding the missing mail, and getting it delivered to us. Most residents got their ballots by May 5th.
Fine, moving on from postal issues.
Okay, moving on. Glad to answer any questions. Public information. One of the things that we made sure to do was keep the village informed. Again, transparency is a huge issue. And I want to commend the staff for taking special care this year to follow the committee's instructions about the content, timing, and formatting of the posted materials. They really made every effort. And the visibility and transparency this year, I think, were quite good. Voter roll verification it's a bigger pie. If you've never done a voter roll verification, it's hard to even imagine the level of painstaking detail it requires to actually get it right. And, we're not perfectionists, but we are required by law to make sure that we have an accurate voter list in the sense of we're not supposed to give ballots to people who aren't eligible voters. And it is really an interesting process. This year, thank you to the council for approving the ability to hire a contractor. And thank you to Michael Silliman for recommending Mr. Logan Rayburn, who did a superb job. And it's not a matter of just checking a couple of spreadsheets. It is really a detailed dive into who's an eligible voter or not. And of course, the council has defined voting eligibility in the charter and in the election regs. And the committee can't make up, oh, so-and-so's eligible, so-and-so's not. No, we got to comply with the law. State law requires that, county law requires that, and our village regs require that. So it really is an incredible process. And it happens, the voter verification process takes place during the same 2 months, basically late February, March into early April, that the committee has the maximum workload on the rest of it, where we're processing the candidate filings and producing the voter information guide, correcting the electech ballots, and all of this technical work that it takes to do an election is happening at the same time. And trying to do the voter roll verification on top of that last year was unbelievable. It was just unacceptable. One of our recommendations for next year is to hire an election verification contractor again. This was incredibly cost effective. The verification work of the contractor, who was very skillful, took 50 hours. And while he was doing the 50 hours on the voter roll, we were able to do the rest of the work. We got the voter guide out on time. We got the candidates' filings handled
Marty,
promptly.
can we wrap it up? We have 2 more committees to hear
I
from.
know, but this is important, and I appreciate you giving me time to talk about it. The
I'm sorry,
verification
Marty,
process.
could we try and keep it to, we have other members who need to report out, and they also have requested to be able to go at a reasonable hour. So I think we're going to be able to go through a lot of this under the new council, particularly the deeper dive recommendations. So if you could try and keep it to the next 5 minutes, that would be super helpful.
I will be happy to do that. And the last part of this actually is to go to footnote 1 in our report, which is specifically in response to your questions, Jeff, at the May Council meeting. And again, lays out the requirements for the committee to make sure that, in fact, the ballot packets get delivered on time and what we do if they don't, and what to do about return envelopes being late. We have developed an SOP. This year's committee drafted an SOP that's pretty comprehensive. Next year's committee, we hope will review it and finalize it. And we hope the council will make it attachment C or appendix C on the regs, because postal delays are probably here for the foreseeable future. I hope we don't get hit with them again next year, but can happen to anybody, is happening a lot nationwide. And so I would ask you all to read that footnote 1 and understand what it takes to actually deal with postal delays to make sure that they don't disqualify our voters. I'm going to leave it at that and just tell you, thank you. Look at our recommendations next year. This year's committee did an incredible amount of work and did it really, really well. I am proud to be part of this team and proud to have clean, honest, fair, transparent, and voter-friendly elections in Martin's Additions. Congratulations to the 3 candidates who won this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers. And
Okay.
I just want to say thank you to the committee. We know that how hard you work, both behind the scenes and also what everyone sees. And John, welcome aboard the good ship after July 1st. And I also just want to share with the current council and the future council that there's some very interesting feedback, I think, from residents about this last cycle, both positive as well as constructive. And I think our next annual survey, there'll be an opportunity to maybe ask a few questions of residents in terms of process and things to see where we could perhaps even strengthen further on top of the recommendations
Okay.
that Marty has made and the rest of the committee.
Good.
So thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Pete, community engagement. We had a fun year and we're looking forward to next year.
The Fund Committee,
Yes, sir.
as we're more popularly known. The overview this year's slate of events were popular and well attended. We've learned that events held outside BMA tend to be less popular and likely to draw fewer participants. We've also learned that we need a system to replace the block captain program,
Yes.
which, while well-intentioned, is difficult to manage. Also, advertising the events earlier and more often would likely result in additional participation. But the Community Engagement Committee encourages VMA and future CEC members to continue to expand community engagement opportunities for our residents. We're looking forward now to we touched on that with the weather, the big event coming up here a week from this Sunday, and then the movie in the park. We're gonna just do one this year, like we did last year. That will be the Sunday before Labor Day. And then we'll look to the Night of Lights, actually the Halloween parade, that's very popular. And then the Night of Lights is gaining momentum with popularity for the last couple of years. And that's my report.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for your time and attention.
I believe there's a rumor that Arthur is going to be in the dunking booth this time around.
Actually, I'm not gonna be here on the fourth, I'll be traveling. Sign me up for next week.
No, we can move the dates.
Yeah.
That's a reason.
We're flexible.
Yes, I'm willing to be dumped.
I also want to mention the insurance policy.
The
The
liability.
tank is getting more and more expensive every year, so we'll see how long that tradition continues.
We have something for the anti-Semitism and hate committee. Nobody's here. Do you want anything happening? They want to share?
I think they're working toward an event with various
Here,
speakers.
by the way.
Oh, we have-
Michael.
Michael's here.
Hi.
Okay.
Sorry. Didn't see
I
it.
just moved to Bethesda though, so I'm technically honorary and non-voting. So Andrew, if you want to continue.
No, go ahead. You can finish out the year.
Okay. I think there's 13 days left. So I think you have our report that Dara submitted. It highlights a few events that we're hoping to have in the fall. One is in-person, the sort of the interfaith panel that Arthur we had discussed and Andrew we had discussed in April and May respectively. I did some reach out with speakers and had a few accept, including Haley, Andrew's wife, who is the head of the Jewish Democratic Council for America. And so we had that premised on summer dates, but in May we decided, the other committee members decided to sort of punt that for the fall, since a lot of people are just not around in the summer. Another event they are positing is with a educational program with the American Jewish Committee. And then there's another one for relationship building with a yoga class with BMA resident Leah Kraft.
Good. Thank you. Any comments, discussions, questions?
I just want to say thank you and recognizing that that how fortunate we are to live here, but also, and as Andrew and Haley and everyone on the committee and task force know, the increased rise of incidents within the region and also the world. So I'm grateful that actually, you know, we recommitted for at least another year to extend this task force, because I think in many ways we perhaps need it more than ever, and expand the scope so it's more inclusive, because I think there are plenty of various groups that are concerned about a lot of things that are happening right now.
Yeah, I think especially the expansion, grateful that we are able to do.
I was very pleased to see the committee find so many very talented people right here in the community. And when you weren't there, we got your wife
Yeah,
signed up.
right.
So it was, I think having a community base like this really brings things home. We're people who are our neighbors who can speak with authority on the subject. So thank you to the committee.
Definitely.
Okay, moving on. Do you have something else, Michael? That was, okay.
No, just one thing I want to note in the interfaith roundtable discussion is you'll see that the committee members in the summary wrote to add the ADL as a potential facilitating organization, and that came up more in the May meeting after my reach out to a lot of the speakers who had tentatively agreed to a panel. So if the committee is extended, whoever is on the committee will have to go back to the speakers to sort of gauge comfort level with a change to the program and adding that organization.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Turning to the water committee, stormwater, we have 3 members that I see here. Mark, are you speaking for the committee? You're mute. You're still mute. You're still mute.
There you
How
go.
about now?
Good.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm good at a lot of things, but not this. So one of the things I thought about starting with is the fact that I love living in Martin's Additions. This meeting has been a delight and a demonstration of how collaborative we are all in working together to deal with our collective problems and sometimes our individual problems. So this has been great. And the icing on the cake for me today was the food truck for dinner. Thank you. We've reported so many times, in some ways, this final report is a post-game show. We've made it clear what in our action plan, what our 3 years of work, where the engineers has made essential to do. It's 5 or 6 tasks. We've discussed them all with you before, and I think the tasks remain the same in the proposed statement of work for the new committee. So I think we're right on track. We've talked among ourselves to some extent, but I want to say that I think that from my point of view, so I'm just speaking for myself now, besides I have total confidence that the green infrastructure work will run smoothly. We have great people that are going to support that. I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to find some money somewhere to help. I know that we'll do a good job of educating the community. We've learned a lot about how to educate the community during the past several years. I have total confidence that the council is going to knows exactly how to implement the infrastructure recommendations we've made. So what's left? What's left for me personally is where we're going with the building code ordinance. I feel that it's urgent that we move quickly. Arthur, you and I just had a conversation today about another instance where, from my point of view as a lawyer, there's not much the town can do about somebody's problem with stormwater from a neighbor because we don't have an ordinance. And we've been through that before, and I really think we need to move quickly on that. I don't think it's all that complicated. We have 2 or 3 models from other towns. We have the county ordinance, which, if it was enforced, would be great, but it isn't. And it just needs to be adapted to account for smaller pieces of land disturbance. And I'd like us to move very quickly on that with some urgency. Otherwise, we're just going to be chasing our tail. And I I understand the law pretty well, and I'm offering to, for free, and just help Ron put it together. And if that'll help move things forward. And we also, in doing that, I want to make sure that we follow the directions or instructions of our engineer as to what works and what doesn't work so well. And that's why I think the county ordinance structure in an enforcement package with funding by the builders is the cleanest, simplest way to proceed. And it may be required by state law anyway, because my read of state law is that we'd have to have the Department of Natural Resources approve an ordinance unless it pretty much tracks with the county ordinance. And that's why we came up with that way of doing it. That and the fact that it prohibiting increased discharge is the only way to stop increased discharge. A permeable soil is important. And 20 years ago, when I first started working on this stuff, I thought it was the way to go. But the engineers have educated us to understand that given our hilly surfaces, permeability is not going to give a certain result because water travels too fast downhill to be absorbed. And so if you just prohibit discharge, you're done. So I don't really have a lot more to say. We've given our report 2 or 3 times now, but I will say that I've worked with an amazing committee. And while I was out of town gallivanting in Scandinavia and Yasmina was gallivanting in Italy for weeks, and Nick has been busy as heck, Elizabeth carried the ball and then Nick supported her. And so they just stepped right up. And this report that you have here today is about 90% Elizabeth. And I want to thank her for that. So that's my final report.
Thank you.
So you
Thank
were
you.
on a fact-finding mission in Scandinavia and Yasmina in Italy?
You know, I learned that Top Dog hot dogs in Berkeley are still the best. I learned that the Scandinavian people have put together a lifestyle that is just incredibly impressive, and they're happy. They're just happy. And I learned that if you all recall, at one point we had a national government that worked for the benefit of the people and all the people all the time. That's the way they do it in Scandinavia. They may fight about it. The conservatives and liberals fight about it, but they have coalition governments and they negotiate a deal and they get because they want to get something done.
Mhm.
And so there's it's like what we grew up with. There's collaborative fighting, and then work it out, and let's get it done. So that was. I was tearful in some ways to see that. And when Scandinavians come up to you and say, "We feel so badly for you," I mean, I mean, they just walk up to you on the street. I mean,
And that's just for our stormwater issues?
yeah, that is who I am, right?
Right.
That's who I am. I'm one of the masters of stormwater.
Okay, Mark, in the spirit of collaborative fighting,
Yes.
I want to suggest that the code of revision proposals that Phelan has that you're supporting, I think in my talking to council members, we would like to hear a variety of approaches and look at the strengths and weaknesses of them, and also get the direct experiences from other communities. What do they think? We want to hear from council members, from managers, about what their own experiences has been. So your suggestions are probably the best, but I think we want to be more comfortable that we've reviewed what the alternatives are and heard from people with actual experience how things have gone. So this will be our collaborative fighting over the next few months to make sure that we get educated. You've educated yourself. Now we need to be educated on this whole thing.
I totally agree with that. That is the way to go. You don't do it because we said so, but we met with all those people and did interview them and did talk to them,
Right.
and
So you're
did get that
comfortable with
stuff, and so we came to I think you do need to do sort of a hearing process. I totally get it.
Right.
I just want to make sure that the committee is involved in that process, not as a pain in the butt so much as a helpful hand.
Good, thank you.
We're not interested in telling people what to do. We're just interested in
Yes, you are.
everybody getting to the best solution.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, you have your hand up.
Mute.
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mark. That was a very good presentation, and those are indeed the key issues that we say at the end of the report. The two things that are going to really have a major impact on controlling stormwater disasters are going to be making headway on improving the pipes and tubes underground that carry the water away, and two is controlling, putting more, the process for expanding properties, homes, and all of this, and how you control the runoff from that. And the faster we do that, the faster we'll start to see results. But Mark, quick step through the rest, and I think it was just a little bit too quick because this is a task force that's coming to an end, and a new committee that's beginning. And I wanted to just, in case people don't recall, that the process actually started 3 years ago, and what was involved, like you said, it was the first step was educate. I wasn't involved in it at that point, but Mark was educating themselves on what in the world, was the problem, and trying to identify it and where was it, and reaching out to experts, collecting and reviewing files in both Martin's Additions and stormwater management related files, assessing what was available in terms of resources from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources and Montgomery County, as well as what the laws and regulations are, conducting a survey of VMA residents that was very, very fruitful and productive in yielding lots of case studies that turned out to be many of the problems that were identified there, where residents took the time to write out in detail what had happened on their properties. Turns out to filter into many of those high priority areas in the end, because indeed there are areas in the village that have the greatest concentration of water. And in addition, gathering data, photographic evidence, testimonials from residents, analyzing codes, ordinances, stormwater management plans, collected best practices from other municipalities. We all took a municipality and interviewed the managers from each of those and documented that in notes that we shared with you earlier. Then at the end of this 3 year, well, it wasn't 3 years, it was probably back in fiscal year 25, Mark, it says May 24, requested and secured village approval and funding for the hiring of a stormwater engineer. So that was in that year, and then the following year there was terms of reference that were developed for such a study, and then that actually went into the bidding process in this year when I joined the group. The request for proposals went out, and I came in just at the point when we were getting the proposals in competitive bidding process, and we had a chance to review these technical engineering proposals and make a recommendation to the council on that eventually hired Bayland. So I thought it was important to say this it wasn't just an annual committee giving a report. This is really the end, a culmination, of a long process, very, very detailed, very thoughtful and investigative, really is what it was. That was the one point. The second was it involved residents. And this is very important, that along the way, residents were as I said, shared the issues and problems. We went back to them. The site visits that were conducted by Bayland took place. They were actually allowed access to maybe 15 or 20 residents' properties. Yeah. And then we had Bayland, we insisted that the contractor give 2 opportunities for residents to weigh in on the report as it was being developed. So it was first shared with them in December 25, and then again in March 2026. Their comments were taken on board and incorporated into the proposal. And our task force, my goodness, we were co-authors of the report effectively, because we went in and critiqued it in a sidebar with all the comments, linked to all of the text. We then discussed those comments with the contractor, negotiated getting them in or improving them or making them stronger, enhancing sections that we thought were missing, that they should be covered. So it was a very interactive and time-consuming process. But I think in the end, the idea was getting a really good document that would be an absolute roadmap for you all to go forward. The other thing I wanted to mention, so what was the final outcome? The final was their stormwater assessment report delivered to the council on April of this year. And then we decided that it needed a companion piece that would be sort of a guideline, a framework for implementation that would address some of the issues that were obviously, Bayland is an engineering company. And so they said, we can't write in detail about green infrastructure and community outreach because that's not what we do. But we're aware that community, this stuff exists. There's a lot of resources out there. So we took those sections, those additional areas to complement the basic 2, which are the gray infrastructure enhancements and the code, updating the code and strengthening it, to complement what we can do with residents on private property as well as public property. So that is, those are highlighted in the action plan, and they were costed out to make it easier for you to get started. We've tried to put what it would actually be, an indicative budget for this year going forward for FY27. And we actually got approval. That was the 4th point. I wanted to mention that the council favorably reviewed that request, and actually Jeff and you all inserted an initial budget for some of those action plan items to get going with the new committee in the new fiscal year. And we thank you very much for that, because that will make a huge difference. And the last thing was that the council, I wanted to also acknowledge, and you're going to discuss it later in the agenda here, the scope of work for the new Stormwater Committee. And we've had a chat. Thank you for giving us a chance to provide comments on that. We've done that twice. Thanks very much. And maybe just the idea was, what could we do as an interim committee here over the next weeks? We're not quite sure when you'll have a new committee and how many weeks, it would be up to us to get going with something. We haven't heard from you about that, when new volunteers will be on board. But in the meantime, the report did lay out a few areas of things that could be done immediately, like going back to residents who expressed concerns, outlining a resident-focused stormwater and green infrastructure education plan, an outline, and then discussing a neighboring community outreach plan, which already exists. Somebody has had a very good experience, and the idea was bringing them and that idea into our community and sharing that to see if we could do something similar here. So those are things that might be doable in the next, month or 6 weeks, once everybody gets back from their travels or vacation or whatever's going on. And then finally, I just wanted to say, to reinforce what Mark said about Bayland. I mean, this is a company that has deep experience in these issues. They, to the extent where they've been hired as consulting engineers in neighboring municipalities, okay, on the stormwater issue, so that experience should count. I believe it should count to quite heavily in considering the ideas that they have spelled out in their report on how to go forward with the code and ordinance issues. So I would just encourage you all to, dive deeply into that. And then, of course, Mark has offered his time as well, which is wonderful. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to flesh out around the bones a little bit and say that it really was a big process, and I was happy to be a part of it. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. A lot of effort from everybody. I want to refresh my memory. Did we kind of formally or informally reappoint the committee
thought we
members to
did.
the new committee?
There were 3 people I thought were.
Right. So you're kind of reappointed to the new committee. And we will have a general call for volunteers in the new fiscal year when we do that for all the committees. So consider yourselves members of the new committee. We're now scheduled to consider the mission statement.
Yeah, just say it real quick, very 3 brief points. First, thank you profusely. I know everyone, we could just spend the next hour thanking you for all the hard work that you've done, but we won't do that. We'll save that for offline, and maybe a group trip to Scandinavia would be great. But
Hey, one point I want to make. You want to know what they think about stormwater?
Yeah.
They are 100%. Their electricity is 100% supplied by hydroelectric power.
Yeah.
They're 85% of their cars are electric.
Good.
That's
this
what
is
they're doing.
stimulating some interesting ideas of maybe we could do.
What do we do with all
some
that running water?
turbines underneath the streets and see
Yes.
what we could come up with?
Yeah.
But I do want to just share as a backdrop, first of all, recognizing, and there's a reason for this, our sidewalk project, which has taken, as folks on the council know, a long time to go from a walkability study to actual effectualization of something that is meaningful to our entire community and beyond. So recognizing from that experience, the timeline it took from that study to action, I think, this time around, we're all hopeful that we are going to move forward as quickly as possible on the immediate recommendations and high priority recommendations. And that's what's so great about this, is we're going from task force to committee with real oomph and muscle and budget. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, I know, Mark, you brought this up, and Elizabeth and others, but specifically at this discussion, but those immediate high impact areas of working with some legal counsel, whether those that we currently work with or beyond, specific to whether it's ADU or other pieces of the code, so that it really can impact in a positive way if there is additional development and perhaps expansion of impermeable surfaces. How about the setbacks and the trees and things like that? So just putting out that, these things that we could really work on while there may be some continued discussion on the initial report and maybe some feedback. Because when we look at the idea of an outlay of that first $1 million within a bucket of perhaps over $3 million, obviously that's a lot, and there needs to be more discussion. And ultimately, though, I think really grateful for the idea that we know we have reserves, and we've already looked financially that there are, because of our municipality status, we could get essentially extremely low, I don't want to say free money, but we can get things from the state that we qualify for, that essentially our interests on our reserves can cover the payments on a bulk of this. So really excited about the possibilities of going forward. So with that said, I think we are still waiting for the day that Arthur can put his handprints in one of the blocks of, so we can celebrate that and then move on to stormwater.
It's coming.
Right.
Manager's report will.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is the consideration of the mission statement, but what you had in there was Elizabeth's comments on the first draft.
Okay, if there's a more recent draft, I must have missed it. And I do see that the date here is May 14th.
Right, so I sent one out on Monday that everybody got, and you got too.
Okay.
So we
Sorry
can,
about that. So I guess we could delay the adoption of it until we have that language in front of everybody
Yeah, I think that
at next
would be-
month.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
sorry about that.
Excuse me, the draft that thought I commented on was June 17th. Is that the
Right,
yeah.
latest?
Yeah,
That's the one I
I
have in
didn't-
front of me.
right. I don't think
The one in the packet, it has the date on the top. It says.
that was, the what's in the packet was what
So-
Elizabeth comment on the first draft.
Okay,
No,
sorry
no,
about that. There's
actually,
a-
No,
It's a moot one. So, okay,
It
I
was the
have not
second draft.
seen, I think you just sent that out this afternoon. I have not seen your latest comments on my Monday draft. Okay.
And as there was another comment about the call for volunteers. We did mention it in the last newsletter. If there's additional people that want to serve on the stormwater task force or committee now, that would be great. Please reach out. No one has reached out to date. When we do the big call for all the volunteers for all the committees, we will include the water task force, water committee.
Right.
It's going to take me a while to get used to saying that. Stormwater committee. We'll send that out at the same time to get additional volunteers.
Okay.
The only administrative point on that, you've got a committee with current members. Some may be stepping off, but we're changing roles. And I think, as Elizabeth pointed out, that, you know, they're ready to go on some things. And I think we talked about, I don't know the timing, but, you know, if we're looking at the call for the large or volunteers and the establishment of the committees, that doesn't typically happen until September or so. So the real question becomes, and we could take this offline administratively, is there something now, a standalone that we would send out, whether it's now or in July after the new council is sworn in? We could ask the committee how they feel, but, you know, do they need more muscle? Should we send out a standalone announcement now? There may be others who are interested, and then, you know, we could just add them and we don't have to wait till
You said
September.
you already,
Did do that, and
But it was probably
Part of
the
the-
interview,
part-
so,
part of
yeah,
the-
I mean, it might have to be a
After our
standalone
call.
call. Yeah.
okay.
So I don't know how they feel. We could take it offline, but if you feel that, you know, you're ready to bring on perhaps some new people and there are things that you need them for now before the normative process may take through September. So the real question is, are you ready for new members, or, you know, are you okay for a bit of a delay? And
Well, and the interim members can sign the new forms on July 1.
Yeah.
You know,
The current
members,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
so we can
So-
take it
And they can
offline.
start their work.
Yeah,
Whenever they
start as soon as possible. Okay,
Elizabeth has her hand up. Maybe she-
is that your note hand or a new hand?
it's a new
No,
hand.
that's a new hand. It was just
Okay,
in searching for volunteers. I was thinking it might be good to put out some areas of expertise that would be useful given the technical nature of the committee. So, you know, I mean, anyone with, I mean, we could talk about that amongst ourselves and give you a few bullet points that might be useful, because I'm sure in our community, we have people that would, you know, be very well qualified and have experience or education on some of these areas, but that gives people a little bit of a running start because of the technical nature of a lot of them. I mean, even like a communicator, for example, that's going to be an important part of it. Somebody that's really good at outreach and communications, and I'm sure we'd have people trained in journalism and all of this. So I'm just wondering the best way, if that's useful to you, we could just discuss and provide a few areas, if anyone, you know. I don't think we'd turn down anybody who'd be willing to do it, but if you had, you know, if you would say, if anybody out there has these skills and background.
more
you
skills
know,
are better than fewer
Yeah.
skills.
that-
Good,
That's all. Yeah,
That's a good
okay.
idea.
okay,
All right,
good, yeah, phone them in.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Good idea.
Okay, next item is, thank you, all the committee. I think you can see all the committee work that goes on here that keeps things moving along. And we
Mhm.
certainly appreciate all of that. Minutes of the last meeting, they have been distributed. I presume everybody has gone over them. Do we
I
have,
move to approve the minutes.
okay, do we have you move to approve?
I'll second this.
Second that all. Okay, we've approved the minutes. And treasurer's report.
Excellent. I'm going to take just a 30-second or less pause. I do want to just acknowledge that this is the first time in VMA history that we can say that we are having a meeting where the New York Knickerbockers are. Love the great state of Maryland, but you can't take the New York out of the boy, as they say.
Oh, gee, do I?
And then
Where's my shirt?
I didn't hear about
Yeah,
it.
when did that happen?
And let us all hope that we are around in 2079 for the next one, which if we follow the pattern, that'll be number 4.
Please do.
The other thing I want to take a little bit more on a more direct note, and I just want to share, and folks may know, but a dear friend and former council member, Josh Bowers is in, he's in the hospital right now. We hope that he'll be out in a few days, but just want to send out the love to him and, hope for a speedy recovery. He did post on social media that while he was at Georgetown that Tony Fauci stopped by on around, but Josh is a dear friend, fellow naturalist, photographer, and at least I wish him well. I know everyone else.
Former council member.
Great. So now let's move on to business. Treasurer's report. So again, next month is when we'll have the final reconciliation of the entire outlays for the year. But as always, and again, being in a very fortunate position, we are in fantastic shape. And just putting that in perspective, for this treasurer's report, we actually put in, as part of the P&L monthly statement, the outlays of over $200,000 for the Brookville sidewalk. And there's going to be some separate reporting next month in terms of the balance sheet and how we separate these things out. But just putting that as part of the P&L, because the income and how we do our reserves as well as our savings in our account, while it is on paper separate, the reality is that it is in one pool. So it's reasonable to do this. And just to show by doing this, we are still completely in the black when it comes to our finances, which is quite extraordinary. And if the reason for that is, if you look, with still a month to go, we are for the year almost $300,000 over what we expected for income. So really quite extraordinary to be in this position. And with that said, really just great shape. And I think I'll defer, other than the fact that we do have some business on the budget amendment for this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you. Great shape. As usual, at the end of the year, we have some categories that we spent a little bit more on than we budgeted, and some categories that came in less. Among the items that we overspent was snow removal this year, both the roads and sidewalks. Not a lot, $6,600 or over. So we need to have motions to move money that you can see in the budget adjustments from the underspending to the overspending. And we've underspent in offices, office expenses. We've underspent in street maintenance and cleaning, and we've underspent in special projects consultant. Michael has had the use of special projects, but we still underspent. So we will need a motion, I think.
Yes, this is just a simple resolution, so it can pass with a simple majority.
Right, to move money as indicated on this, from the various categories I mentioned, to the printing and mailing, holiday fund, street cleaning, and snow removal. So we need a motion to move said funds.
To move those funds.
And we have a second. Do we have a vote? Yes. Any discussion? Okay, we passed that. Actually, it's relatively small numbers this year. Just those that end up
categories, and the snow one I'm most proud of, because we had an incredible storm with weeks of ice and neighboring communities that never got plowed out for weeks afterwards. And
did we up that budget last year?
We had upped that budget, and we had
the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And we added the sidewalks. The way they invoice us is those are really one invoice combined together, the sidewalk and the streets. So I just combined the categories together as well as, you know, now we have bumped that category up. So.
Good, yeah. Okay, managers report.
Arthur, before you, I do want to, I apologize. It's just, I see that some members of the stormwater are still on. I just want to make one quick footnote for us to follow up on with Michael and our thoughts as we head into new council. So we talked about the sizable resources we have and what we expect and anticipate we will invest within our own community, particularly the first tranche of about $1 million, and it could go upwards of $3 million. And just factoring that in with the over $500,000 that we put into our sidewalk. And I think Gene Sperling had brought this up in prior meetings is, you know, in some ways we are subsidizing a responsibility of the county and others.
Exactly.
And I'm sharing this because I feel that there is some work for us to do as a council. Again, we had some representatives who were here at the last meeting who are running for seats. We don't know how those elections will turn out. But at the bottom line is it would behoove us to really see how we can, the idea that we are investing potentially, you know, well over $1 million, but certainly well over, it could be over $2 million over the next years in our own infrastructure that is in part a county responsibility. I would really like to see how we could leverage this in some ways where, whether it's a, you know, part and parcel of a maintenance contract or, you know, just some things so that we see their skin in the game. So we are not hooked on this because even though it does benefit everyone, of course, and our property values will go up and that may impact also perhaps even our insurance may go down. I mean, those are things are speculative, but really we're putting in sizable investments. And for a county that is suggesting raising taxes on people, and we have kept ours static and lowest in the state, I would like to see us see what we could get out of that.
Actually, see if they could actually do it. That would be the first priority.
The storm drains are owned and maintained by the county, and the reality is they're not, because they're not actually maintaining them. They haven't done anything with them, and we know for a fact that our storm drains are half the size they need to be.
So anyway, I just want to mention, and I think one area that frankly could be a very important area to leverage them is that idea of accessing the lowest interest loan possible from the state. So again, our interest bearing account will cover the payment. So it really becomes in essence a more of a cash flow issue that we can cover versus an actual expenditure on our part, if that makes sense.
I mean, in so many ways, it goes with the state, you know, and us stepping up here. It's a real disgrace because this is also a safety and health issue, not just, you know, property values, but what we had to do here with the sidewalk. And when I come down either direction, it is amazing.
Yeah.
It looks amazing. So I want
Really
to thank
beautiful.
Michael for helping shepherd this through. And you just seeing the difference between this last block and the previous 4 or 5.
Like, this is like olden times and
It's
modern times.
It's really remarkable. And I've seen
Really is.
people now every day walking side by side.
Yeah.
And I did a long walk with my wife yesterday evening, and we came down from all the way, you know, Melrose, whatever, and then we came to our part, and we walked side by side with one exception where it got a little, with that retaining wall, it got a little tight. But it is remarkable.
Nice.
And it's a nice elevation where I feel like now, and I spoke to someone who's not in the VMA about it, who lives, I think, in section 3 or 5, and she's like, she was so excited to see that happening for her kids.
Yes.
So we're not doing this just for the VMA, we're doing it for the whole
Everybody
area
wants
here.
to do that.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And that the fact we have to spend our money, but it was well spent. It was well
I'm
worth
hoping
it.
to have a ribbon cutting when we're done and invite some state people so you can tell them directly to their face,
Yeah.
hey, remember, we
Yeah,
paid
thanks for nothing.
this. We paid for this.
And you're getting a photo up.
We need someone who will act as the hardball negotiator. So we'll
On the
figure it out.
No more Mr. and Mrs. Nice.
Mark, you have a quick point on what Jeff said?
Yes, I think Jeff's right on target. The committee is supposed to work on, one of its tasks is to work on sources of funds, but we do not have a task related to gray infrastructure. So the question is, who's going to do this exploration?
We have a 103-page report detailing out exactly what projects need to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but who's going to do the work finding the money with the county and all that stuff? Are you guys going to do it, which is fine? Do you want the committee to be involved? That's,
we
we,
may
we
not.
can see
Well-
if that's possible.
Right, we'll have to work that out.
Yeah.
Just let us know.
Ron as well.
I mean, the only thing I can offer, and I think I spoke with you briefly about it, is I met with Julie Yang, who is also running for
Mhm.
Montgomery County. I think she's met with some
Right.
others.
Tried.
And she basically said that she would be more than happy to work with the state to find state bond money. So that's
Right. Yeah, and we do have our representatives in the state legislature who've been
Right.
helpful on other issues.
Mhm.
So we'll
Mhm.
see.
So to answer I mean, I don't think we're gonna have a lack of folks who will want to work on this on the council or elsewhere, but I'll
Right.
certainly, I mean, I definitely, this is something that I think we could reach out to folks like Nancy King, I mean, we could reach out obviously to the county council, but I think this is a state level and we can really.
Well, part is
leverage
part
our-
state, it's
Yeah.
part county, it
Exactly.
crosses all the boundaries here.
So.
My point was,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys can do a great job, but if you need us, let us know.
If you need help, yeah,
Oh,
well,
All right?
we'll take all the help we can get.
All right.
Michael, manager's report.
yes, I will keep this quick. It is the end of the fiscal year. I'm the last thing standing between us and summer. I hope you enjoyed the Silver and Sons barbecue today. I know I did. I'm just getting over my food coma right now. The Brookville sidewalk, while it continues and we only have one block to go, we are experiencing some delays with scheduling our surveyor to come out and stake out that last block. Hopefully we will be back on track next week and starting up on Monday or Tuesday and hopefully finishing that within 2 weeks. And then we'll be done. And as I said earlier, we will schedule a ribbon cutting and invite all of these state representatives and county representatives to come. There's some people from the state highway administration I will even invite to that. And there's some people from the state highway I will not be inviting to that. Let's put it that way.
Approximate timing for that, because people are probably gonna be out
Yeah,
the 4th of July.
I was hoping to do it at our June 28th 4th of July party. I'm not going to schedule that and confirm that until we are officially done.
Yeah.
Or I have to be very confident that we're going to be done by then.
'Cause if
If
it can't
not,
happen
then
by
we
I
might
would do it after.
we might
Yeah,
push it.
so
We might
I'm
push
going
it.
to wait till after
We
July.
might push it till the end of July or something and do something. Yeah.
Let's
We'll
coordinate
figure
our
out.
schedules here.
And it doesn't have to be a hurry. We could schedule that well into the future. It doesn't need
Yeah.
to be a rush.
And we should make sure that also that we schedule with Susan, because as an active member of the council, she was.
Absolutely.
One of the original
And the walkability,
sidewalks.
going back to
advocates, yeah.
walkability.
Yeah,
OG.
thank you. That's very thoughtful.
And let's be strategic. I know that you're amazing when it comes to the outreach and all the different folks who receive and then come, but let's be strategic, knowing we are looking for the best possible state bond that we can get our hands on, get some of the right folks.
Probably a different department, but sure. Yeah.
All right, let's send out the blanket. as they
Yeah,
say.
yeah. Let's finish the sidewalk first. I think that's the priority. So moving on from Brookville sidewalk, though, if there's questions or praise, I'm happy to hear it. We are starting a new waste management contract starting July 1st. We have a new tree company and arborist starting on July 1st as well. That's the Davy Tree Experts. They seem good, and I've been meeting with them. So that is ready to go. The volunteer appreciation event on June 6th was a success. We had 20 of our volunteers from this year there. That was great. The annual shredding event, we had 103 people come and shred all their papers. It's amazing how many people save all their papers all year long and want to wait and watch it get shredded so that there's no chance that it'll ever come back.
Okay.
So that was great as well. Of course, the last event of the year is the 4th of July celebration on June 28th. That's from 2 to 5. Please come and help us set up or clean up if you can. That would be fantastic. We will be issuing an annual report that will come out in the July and August combined newsletter. That's where you will see that completed report, which we will then distribute in other forms as well and post on the website and stuff. So that's all coming soon. And Arthur agreed to help me write some of that. So we did hire a new building permit administrator. We're very excited about that. That is Steve Circo. He's already helped me with the first 2 or 3 permit reviews. Just a fence and some other projects that we already knew were coming and have talked about before. And as a reminder, we are closed on Friday in observing Juneteenth. And I'm not crying because it's the last council meeting. It has something to do with the contacts and the allergies combination. But I'm not crying, I promise.
Okay.
See that? I really
thought it was
thought that
for
you were
you.
tearing up.
Okay,
Yeah.
we
Oh, well.
have got to that
Is it coming, Ziggy?
point where we are ready to hear residents' comments some more. We still have a few left. Let me ask Steve Howard, who's always sitting here quietly, but whenever I see him on the street, he has something to say. So Steve, do you have anything to comment on tonight?
I do not. You guys are doing a great job. And Susan, thank you for your service. And no, it was a very good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being there. Anyone else? Everyone's had a lot to say before. We have a
I
council
actually
member.
have something.
You are a resident.
I am indeed a resident. So as a resident and also as a not so new council member, I've been thinking that the council should start really seriously entertaining the idea of getting a new home for the village and really to look at the possibilities of, is this the right time to do it? What would be the pros and cons of doing such a investment? Because I feel that this is the time when we really want to maintain all of the positive work that you guys have been doing for years and I have now been part of, and also to really expand our community outreach. And I think having a home will help do that.
What in particular, do you have something in mind?
Not a particular space, but no,
In general, a
Like a house,
house
yeah.
available.
an available house.
Right, yeah. I have been, I think I've mentioned, I've been suggesting that we think about this for several years now. And I have a couple of considerations in addition to what you said. This building could be bought
Anytime.
at any point, torn down,
Mhm,
and we'd be out on the street.
mhm.
Or there could be a fire, or there could be a new owner who has other
Other
ideas
plans.
for who would inhabit it. So I think for a lot of reasons like that, including one coming up the stairs, it's an imposition on anyone with a disability
Exactly.
to get up here. And it's also, if there happened to be a fire in this building and we were here and that stairway was blocked, we would be going all out the window here. There is a ladder that has not been tested, that but I think should be tested. But I think for all these reasons, I think
For the right price, Mr. Chairman, I've
Yes.
got a home on Turner Lane that I could sell.
Wait a minute. What about my house?
Yeah.
so. This is actually something that we could be, I think, actively looking. Things come up and we kind of say, yeah, but it's kind of hard to actually get moving on something
Yeah.
like this.
I mean, it's also
But-
location wise, you want to think about a location that makes sense. There was this house that was just sold on Taylor,
Yeah.
right
Yes.
there next to
Mhm.
next to La Firme.
Our new council member, do you have a comment?
Not yet, but I'm not a council member yet.
About to be.
Still a resident.
I'm still a resident. I want to just to rubber stamp echo. I think it's a wonderful idea
Yeah.
to go after that. I also think to that point, like you need to be ready. I think it would behoove the council to get ready so that if a property is available, we
Mhm.
can-
When you say that, do you have specific ideas of how to get ready?
Well, the finances.
Make it a
Yes,
survey
yes,
question.
like,
You
I
plan
think
to
it's-
sell your house in the next year.
I think it's get the finances ready, set them aside, determine what is the amount that we are willing to pay for a property and then.
Ron, help us. our
And
counsel.
also determine how we want to use the property.
Correct.
You know, I mean, because part of it is having a space big enough, you know, and welcoming enough to have more people be
Right.
able to attend.
And do other things.
I'd like to make a comment, but, oh, I'm sorry, but I think Michael.
Well, Michael, you had a comment there.
Yes, my home is for sale.
All of us at home.
3414 Thornapple Street. It's a 3-bed, 2.5 bath, and if the council is interested, you can let our agent know his number is on the sign up front.
We should talk to Ron as well.
Yeah,
If this
for
is
sure.
something. And the village might have, input here
Oh,
too.
the village has expressed strong opinions about this
Yeah.
proposal over the years.
So I want to make a
Very
quick
strong.
comment, but Mark, did you want to say something? Because I saw you were off mute, or maybe,
Well, he was saying that he had a house for sale.
Oh.
too.
Yeah.
oh,
yeah.
Go ahead.
okay.
We're all-
I also was willing to volunteer to try your escape ladder.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was gonna say,
I'm a little
everyone
concerned.
is reviewing the
Everyone
reserves
wants
of
to
the
leave the
village and now has a
Right.
home for sale.
Yeah.
So I just want to comment briefly and, as a gentle reminder. So, and I know it was at a session that went late and had a lot of topics, but we can resurface this perhaps for the next council and next meeting. I did do personal outreach to Garrett Park, as well as another neighboring municipality within Chevy Chase, town of Chevy Chase, that have done transactions. And we also then with Ron, so we've outlined the exact pathway that we can do it. We know it has been done. And so there's nothing stopping us. The two quick things, as we guessed, these transactions don't happen overnight. So you want to be ready and willing to jump when it does happen. And so it could turn on a dime. And the other thing, which I did mention open record, and I do want to share, which I'll have some outreach, because right now it's a private conversation. So I want to be, want to respect the privacy of the residents, but there is a particular interest by, and not to exclude Michael or Andrew about the purchase of their home, but there is a resident who are looking at a possibility of a gifting authority through a trust. So that would obviously be probably the best case scenario, because then we would be looking at some tax burden, but not the idea that we would need to do a purchase using, upwards of over $2 million. But this way, it would be not only affordable, but it would work out magnificently if it were a gifting authority. So I think what we should do is in the next, starting the new fiscal year and over between now and the fall, we should, have some outreach, do some soft discussion if they would be still willing to move in some sort of a gifting authority. And that would be really amazing. Now, let's hope that who these folks might be will be around for another 30, 40, 50 years. But that doesn't mean that you can't transact the deal in a trust. So I think there's an awful lot there. And even discussions about maybe their current property, parts of it could be used as a municipal garden as well.
So let me, a quick question before we end this. Do we want to set up some kind of a committee to talk about this, to see what are the criteria we're looking for? Do we want to have a certain amount of parking space? Should it be a certain distance from Brookville? Should it be, what kind of accessibility? What about the neighbors? I'm not sure what are the various, we want to have office space, but what else do we want in there? And so it may behoove us to set up a little committee here to
We want a
to
village
take a look
jail in the building.
Right.
For certain youth, yes, even better.
Storage, room, and so what don't we need? And so might be
meeting
useful.
facility.
What's that?
A big meeting facility.
Meeting
so
facility,
that-
yeah.
So that,
Right.
you might
Office
even be able
meeting
to have
facility,
parties
right.
there.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Okay,
But didn't someone bring up the idea of using the annual survey to put a question?
I did,
That was
but
your
yes,
idea.
make a note
I
of
mean-
that, put this into a survey
Yeah.
question.
When do we do the annual survey?
Like around
By the end
September,
of the year,
October,
calendar year.
yeah.
Normally comes out in like
September,
Yeah.
October,
October, so-
November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can start thinking
Yeah.
about appropriate questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We can also, I mean, I regret saying this, but we could have a forum and have a conversation
Yeah.
about this with
We love
residents.
forums.
I think that'd be
do.
lovely.
yeah.
better
It's
than
a
a
great
committee.
idea. Yeah.
Huh?
Better than a committee.
Yeah,
Also, once we do have an idea of the property and we're looking at a specific property, we could hire a outside expert to come in and, you know, thinking about accessibility and
Yeah.
design
Yeah.
and
and if we get
remodel.
outbid, we will not take it out on the future resident that outbids on the property. That we-
Very gracious and
Yeah.
ethical.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Okay,
Exciting.
yes. Any other comments from
Give it a gavel.
within the committee, within the council? Okay, with that, and I see no more comments, I will
Does
bring
Marty
this
have her hand?
No,
No.
no, no.
Bring
definitely
this
Symbolically,
to a close.
Susan, would you
Mouse.
like
The
to,
mouse.
would you
Yes,
like to
I'd love
gavel
to,
us
because this
out?
is
Let it return,
this is
return to their,
one thing
the
I've
authoritative.
never got to do.
oh, you were always on Zoom.
And we didn't have this.
We didn't
In
have.
my house.
Wait.
You have to do-
I mean, that made up for a
We are
lot of years.
Officially adjourned.
I mean, a lot of
Thank you
meetings.
all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bravo.
you.
Awesome.